the show, I couldn't find the fedora, so I was a little panicked. The show's not the same without the fedora, but I did find it probably like about 2 minutes before the show started, so we were able to record. It's been a while. Let's go over some exciting news. Bucks had, I'd say, an overall decent draft. Address some needs, nothing sexy. And Moose, go ahead and take it off, and let's get this thing rolling.
Let's get this show on the road, of course. Probably for a lot of you guys out there on Facebook, first time seeing us. We have a YouTube channel we've been trying to grow, the Sports Heap, so feel free to subscribe to us there. I'm kind of impressed with what Facebook brings so far, keeps stuff organized. So we might migrate over here and just kind of start the Sports Heap, I guess, Facebook page and broadcast that way, or at least broadcast off one of our personal pages, just to get a little bit more visibility. Again, of course, it's just a hobby for us anyway, just talking about the Bucks, and of course, our different shows. And also, if you're a podcaster, if you like listening to podcasts, we convert all our videos to audio, and you can listen to us in the car or in the shower, whatever you like doing while listening to podcasts, maybe for a little bit of a run as some of the quarantine restrictions are starting to go away. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Just search for the Buc'ing Hangover, and you can find us. Today's show, you'll see our stuff over here on the right. Going to talk a little bit about quarantine life, what we've been doing for the last few weeks. NFL draft. I want to talk about all of basically round one. Round one was a little bit boring at the beginning, but definitely got exciting, and I know I was sweating as a Bucks fan as we were getting close to pick number 14, which turned into pick number 13. We'll talk about that. Of course, we'll kind of grade how the Bucks did on the draft, and we are going to talk 2020 NFL schedule. One topic I forgot to put on there, and we'll just throw it in there. We'll talk about Gronk. Gronk wasn't official during our last show, but now he's officially a Buccaneer, so we will talk about that as well. So let's hop right into quarantine life before we jump into our Buccaneers and NFL action. We're going to start with you, Emrod. I know we were talking Tiger King before. We were talking Ozark before. What have you been up to the last few weeks?
Really, not much has really changed in the past few weeks. Really, I picked up any new shows. I actually picked up The Last Dance. That's that one on ESPN about the 97, 98 Chicago Bulls. That's been a pretty solid show that I've been really enjoying. Kind of learned a little bit more about 90s basketball. I wasn't too familiar about it. Most of that I do know about 90s basketball usually comes from talking to, one of our friends, Chaz. He kind of gives me some insight. So that's a pretty awesome show. You learn a lot of things about that Bulls team you didn't know. And just pretty much keeping up with my 3-year-old and, just still doing little things here and there around the house. But other than that, quarantine life has been not anything significant. How about you?
For me, it's still been a lot of 90 Day Fiance, man. I just can't get enough of that show. I know one of our friends has hopped on that as well, so him and his girlfriend watched that. You got to get on it, man. It's very similar. I know you watched what was that show we watched on Netflix about finding love? What was the name of that show?
Love is Blind.
Love is Blind. It's just a train wreck, very similar to that. I mean, you have creepy old dudes trying to find love in foreign countries, and it's just hilarious when it all goes wrong. So this season's been spectacular. I mean, there's this 60-year-old guy who's been talking to a Ukrainian woman for 7 years, and she's basically left him out in the cold 4 times, and so he's in Ukraine right now for the 4th time, trying to meet her. It's just hilarious. It's just hilarious how he's in denial, and his friends are trying to do interventions like, hey man, she's fake, she's scamming you. It's like, you don't know her like I know her. You don't know her like I know her. And it's bizarre. Beyond bizarre. I'm trying to think what else I've been up to. Just really getting excited for sports starting to trickle back in. I mean, the NFL draft, I know we were FaceTiming during that, during some of the early picks. So that's about as close as we got into sports. I think UFC is back on Saturday. So I might have to, potentially illegally stream that.
And you
To
got NASCAR coming too. I think like May
I,
17th.
I guess NASCAR is coming back. I don't know if that's going to be on my radar, but we'll.
Hey, it's a form of live sports. All
I'll
right,
take it. I might have
I'll
to
take
throw
it.
$5 on somebody just to get back into sports betting. Maybe we'll have a special $10 sports.
I
Uh,
put $10 on Jeff Gordon.
Jeff Gordon's been out of the game for a couple years, Mike.
Hey, I'll probably lose regardless. So at least I'm putting on somebody's name I know.
So that's really been it. Just work, starting to get antsy. I really want to.
And baseball's supposed to be coming back here in the near future as well.
Right, and uh, we have a few different shows that we do, and one show we haven't done in quite a bit is Balls, Brews, and Bros. So I think maybe this is one that we have to move to Balls, Brews, and Bros. To talk about all the plans for all the teams that or the sports leagues that want to come back over the summer. NHL has a pretty
Yeah.
fascinating plan. MLB's plan to basically have divisions with teams being really close to each other. Oh, we have a comment from our friend Wade. He's excited for NASCAR's return.
Hey, that's and you can see you gotta throw them out there. There's always somebody that
I'll
likes
take
it.
it. I will take it. I actually may sit down and watch the NASCAR race.
You know what?
I enjoy
You know what,
racing.
Wade? I am going to call you, and you need to tell me who to put money on because I'm going to prove Moose wrong here. Now it will be on his radar going forward.
All right, you know what? Let's make it a point to at least watch a little bit of the NASCAR race. So maybe we get that on Balls, Brews, and Bros in the next week or two. We'll talk NASCAR. We'll talk about realignment of NHL plans and MLB plans. We'll bring that to you guys here live on Facebook maybe in the next few weeks. But that's really been it for Quarantine Life Work. Speaking of our buddy Wade, I guess his quarantine plans have been literally busting Tom Brady in the park.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he pretty much told Tom Brady to GTFO off my park. It's off limits. And I think about a couple weeks later, he kicked Blaine Gabbert off too. So, Tom Brady, maybe in Boston, you can walk around whatever park you want.
that's right.
But there's a new sheriff in town. His
There's a
name
new
is
sheriff.
Wade.
His name is Wade. He is protecting those parks, keeping everybody safe, keeping our quarterback safe. So I hope Tom Brady recognizes great public service done by the Parks Department in Tampa, Florida, keeping them safe, ready for the season. That's we appreciate your service and keeping Tom Brady safe. Anyway, ready to move on here. Let's get the graphics going. We talk about quarantine life. I want to talk about the NFL draft, right? I want to talk about it as a whole, and then we'll kind of drill down into the Buccaneers. I was really impressed. I think a lot of us went into it with some skepticism. Oh, this is going to be filmed in Goodell's basement. People are going to have issues with the Zoom meeting, and pretty flawless for the most part. Goodell getting in on the jokes, making booing jokes. Bud Light Seltzer having a great commercial right before with Let's Boo the Commissioner. Pretty impressed. What were your thoughts on the draft? I don't know. I might have lost Emrod. It's the beauty of live. It's the beauty of live. I think I lost Emrod. We might have to bring him back. Let's call him back. Haven't connected here. There he is. There, he's back. All right.
All right, not sure what happened there.
A little bit of a freeze there. That's the beauty of life. I mean, sometimes it happens. It's ironic. We were talking about the NFL draft, how that was one of my biggest concerns as we were freezing was, how good was this going to be? We're in Roger Goodell's basement. Essentially, we're concerned about Zoom and internet quality and were people going to be dropping in and out. But
And Zoom hacking too.
yeah, Zoom hacking. I'm happy we didn't see any male body parts randomly appear on the screen. So I'm glad they did a secured meeting. But what were your thoughts on the draft? I actually thought it was executed really well.
No, I thought it was pretty interesting as well. Much better than I anticipated. Really, I don't think it really took away from any other previous drafts. And it was kind of cool, kind of being able to get into like the coaches' homes, see what their homes are like, see like their families, their what their man caves
Oh
are like.
man, what were some of your favorite man caves or favorite houses, and then what were your kind of like, oh man, what's this guy thinking? Or this guy makes $8 million a year, and that's what he lives in.
I guess Bill Belichick will be the one that we
Oh
can
my
all agree
gosh,
on that.
that's like a '70s era house. It's like a
Yeah.
log cabin or something. Then they zoom to him, and of course he's not there. Typical Belichick. It's just his dog.
And then the other, I mean, the best house by far was probably Cliff Kingsbury.
Oh,
His
Cliff.
thing
That was
was
the
amazing.
ultimate flex right there. It's like, yeah, let's set up the camera looking at my like Arizona xenoscaped backyard, I guess. Uh, ultimate flex, white couches, absolutely loved it. I think McVay had a similar setup too.
Yeah.
I guess it's a young coach thing to flex your $2 million house or whatever. Who else? I know there was a lot of criticism of Joe Burrow's I guess mom's curtains when he was first picked. Some brutal curtains behind Joe Burrow. But who was it? Coach for the Vikings basically had like his own ranch. It was pretty amazing. Has his own brand for his ranch.
Oh wow.
It was
Yeah, that.
absolutely bizarre, but I loved it. I thought it was great. It almost made it more personal, right? Because they were
No, for
they were
sure.
they were planning this big event in Las Vegas. They were going to have pontoon boats drive the draft picks over to the stage in the middle of the Bellagio. I actually preferred this. They maybe should do this moving forward.
No, I definitely thought it was interesting. I don't think it took away from the whole what we're used to watching. I really enjoyed it. I mean, because you got to remember the draft. The draft is usually mainly little talking about each player here or there, showing highlights of each player. That's what 80% of the draft is, and hearing their story, how they overcame adversity to get drafted. Everyone has a great story, underdog story. Um,
Yeah, don't get into that. You know, I mean, utmost respect for everyone and everyone getting through the adversity, but I almost felt like I was watching a Disney movie with the amount of dead people that were mentioned. Like everyone had a dead parent, someone had some crazy story, and again, utmost respect. And it's amazing like what people get through, but like man, ESPN was really pushing the sob stories, and oh, it was just crazy. Like let's talk about football. Like I can
yeah,
appreciate people, making it through with one parent or no parents or whatnot, but man, it was like everybody. It's almost like a requirement to be drafted.
it's like please tell us something we can put on there. But yeah, no, for sure. But I mean, other than that, I enjoyed it. I had a couple friends over. We maintain our 6 feet of distance, so nobody worry. We grilled some steaks. Friend of mine, Tim, he is a grill master, so he definitely made some phenomenal steaks and taught me how to make steaks in the future. So pretty excited about that and my future steaks. But it was kind of weird draft. You're watching it on Zoom instead of having like wings or pizza like you used to. I actually had steak that we grilled. We set up the outside. We had my two TVs going on because I put a TV outside, had my indoor TV going in. So I was kind of, I didn't have a camera. I was trying to flex, but there was no camera to really watch my flex.
Good
Um,
effort.
I'm just kidding. But yeah, we made some Skype calls. Everybody had to Skype call somebody during the draft and get their opinion on the draft pick. Moose, you were on Chaz's Skype call after you turned me down.
Hey, it
They
was just I wanted to sit down and focus on the draft. And honestly, my phone was dying, and then I plugged it in and whatever. We made it work. I was happy I was able to be part of the circle.
and Michael Vega was my FaceTimer. So Vega, if you're listening, I appreciate it. And Zach was Tim's. So Zach actually, it was like after pick two, Zach actually called Denver Broncos drafting Jerry Judy, and they actually did it, which I was extremely
And I'll
surprised
be.
about. So
I
I'm pretty
thought I
impressed
thought
about
he
that.
was going to the Jets, but I should have known better
Me too.
after they invested $8 million in Brashad Perriman. Uh, maybe not so much room for Judy there, but anyway, we'll talk about the drama, almost drama that we had as Buccaneers fans in a moment. But really looking at the first round of the draft, really not too many surprises. Of course, Joe Burrow going first, kind of expect to Chase Young and Okuda. I think really the first surprise that came was that Andrew Thomas was the first tackle off the board. When you're looking at the top four, he's, I mean, I would say he was viewed as maybe the least athletic, probably the safest bet. You know what you're getting with him, but I would say his ceiling isn't as high as someone like Becton or even who the Bucks eventually picked, Tristan Wirfs. Really, the biggest surprise came. I mean, of course, the Raiders always with their first pick of the draft is like let's draft the fastest person available, which they did with Henry Ruggs. I think he was the first wide receiver off the board, and then really a little bit of drama. Let me change our infographic here on that. Going that way. So really, big surprise of CeeDee Lamb dropping to the Cowboys. I thought, that really fell in their lap. Jerry Jones was so happy on his yacht.
Oh yeah, he was
He
excited.
was so happy.
You can tell he was excited when he made him wear number 88.
That's Did they assign him 88?
Yeah,
Really?
number 88.
Oh
Yep.
yeah, and moving on
I
from
think he wanted
Bryant.
like number. Yeah, I think he wanted like number 10 or something like that, and Jerry Jones pretty much said, "No, you're wearing 88." And so, yep, he's 88. Mike Irving's number, Drew Peterson's, and Des Bryant. I mean, three
Man,
great receivers. So it's hopefully he continues those footsteps.
that's right. It's like, hey, we're giving you a very notable number. Don't mess this up. I think there were two surprises. I left one off of this graphic. The big bombshell, of course, though, was Green Bay trading back in or trading down for
Not
Jordan
trading
Love.
up.
Or trading up
Yep.
for Jordan
Yep.
Love.
Yep.
What was that?
That was pretty much trying to tell Aaron Rodgers that we're in control, not you, um, and trying to put, I guess, Aaron Rodgers in his place, which I think was kind of unnecessary because, to me, it's kind of a slap in the face to Aaron Rodgers a little bit
I mean,
because
that's how
Aaron
I took him. Like
Rodgers,
Aaron Rodgers, like a couple days ago, in his interviews, like, yeah, I hope we can get some weapons for me. And the first pick is his replacement.
yeah, exactly. So it's not a win. It does nothing to win now. That's the problem for it. And Aaron Rodgers, he still has like at least 4 or 5 years left in the tank, and this guy's not going to play anytime soon unless they plan on doing a Brett Favre and Rodgers move like they did a few years ago. But this really does not. I mean, I get the importance of a backup quarterback, and given Aaron Rodgers' injury history, where they had Brett Hundley playing that year, I understand you want to definitely have some kind of security blanket. But that's why you sign Andy Dalton or you sign somebody like that, not waste your first round draft pick on a quarterback who may not even see the field for the next 3 years.
May not
And
see the field ever. I mean, I'm not sold on him. I mean, is he
no, not at
really
all.
a quarterback of the future? I mean, that's for me. That was crazy.
I mean, I know there's a lot of scouts and reports that kind of have him potentially being the next Mahomes because he does have a strong arm. He can maneuver pretty well. I don't know if he has the accuracy that Mahomes has, but I think they can be groomed into being the next Patrick Mahomes. Which I mean, I don't think there's really been a before Patrick Mahomes, and I don't know how quickly there will be a next Patrick Mahomes because Patrick Mahomes is one of a kind. And it's from all the football we've ever seen, I don't think I've ever seen anybody like Mahomes.
no.
So I mean, it's really hard to say somebody's the next Mahomes when there wasn't really when Mahomes is the first Mahomes, if you know what I'm saying. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's a gamble, but it does not help you win now. So that pick does absolutely nothing to make the Green Bay Packers a better team going into next year.
And then, of course, thought the steal of the draft, and again, it's just like Kansas City probably already going to have the number one offense. One
Oh
weakness,
yeah,
not really having a consistent running back.
yep.
Pick number 32. I mean, when they made that pick, I was like, wow. All you could do is applaud. It's like, wow, like their GM is on their game and taking CEW or CEH, right? Hilaire. Uh,
Yeah.
and that's going to be a scary offense. The Bucks, of course, KC on the schedule this year. That's gonna
They
be
literally grabbed the best pass catching running back in the draft who fits perfectly into the offensive scheme. I mean, there's just not a better pick that they could have picked. Even if they had pick 12, this is probably the guy they should have drafted, even at pick 12.
Mhm.
So regardless of what pick they had, they picked the exact guy that they needed. So, yep, Kansas City, the rich got richer.
I mean, an absolute value too at 32, first running back taken all the way. Can't believe almost went a whole draft without a running back or a whole round without a running back. So kind of glad he was taken. So there at least there was one running back in the first round. I mean, I wanted to talk a little bit about the Bucks drama because we knew that we were settled in for offensive tackle. We just didn't know who it was going to be. And then, things are looking great. Yeah, first 8 picks. I mean, I think Arizona was pretty excited to basically Isaiah Simmons falling in their lap. That was a easy pick. CJ Henderson, of course, going to Jacksonville, who continues to improve their defense and try to make some replacements for some of their secondary that they've lost. And then Jedrick Wills goes off the board. And then Becton goes off the board. And then it's full-on panic mode for us as Buccaneers fans because you never know what the Raiders are up to. And
Well,
then,
you always know they're going to draft the fastest 40 time.
that's true. So really,
Davis, like father, like father, like son. His son's like, who's the fastest guy? That's who we taking. Remember Darius Hayward Bay that year?
yeah,
Like picked like 8 overall or something
yeah.
crazy like that.
So still a little bit of definitely sweating a little bit. Like, okay, so what happens if we don't end up with any offensive tackle? Thankfully, or maybe not thankfully, I guess John Lynch was in a pretty good position to either bluff Jason Light, or maybe there really were a couple teams calling to trade in to pull in Tristan Wirfs. I mean, there's been some evaluations that rated Tristan Wirfs as the first rated offensive tackle. So it took me a little bit of time to be like, man, we ended up with the scraps. Everyone had their pick, and we have Tristan Wirfs. So the more video I see of him, the more I'm really impressed by him.
He's extremely athletically gifted. I mean, like the video watching him jump completely out of the pool was freaking amazing. And he's extremely strong. I just don't know if that extreme athleticism can convert to the skills needed. And I think that's what Andrew Thomas had. Andrew Thomas was probably not the most athletic.
He's an
Probably
anchor. He
not.
was an anchor. You knew what you're gonna get.
Yeah, so but he's definitely the most skilled at that position. And you see quarterbacks there all the time. The most athletic quarterbacks are not usually the ones that are going to translate to being the best quarterbacks. I mean, Tom Brady's arguably probably one of the most unathletic. Peyton Manning, one of the most unathletic quarterbacks, and obviously they're great quarterbacks. So, I mean, but I'm still happy with the pick. Not gonna, say anything negative about it. It definitely addresses one of our needs, and we definitely need to protect Tom Brady. So, hopefully, Tristan Wirfs it pans out to being the best offensive tackle in that draft. But the way John Lynch did it, and if you watch like the post after it, the way he was like laughing and joking, it's almost like he did it on a dare, and he ended up like getting it, and he made a bet. It's like, I bet I can convince Jason Light to trade with me, and we'll get another pick. And they're like, no, man, you can't do that. And he did it. Same way they did it. Remember when they drafted Trubisky? They went one spot back so the Bears can get Trubisky.
Yeah. No, I mean, and it was kind of like a game of poker. They had position. They could have said 3 or 4 teams were calling a trade in, and we all knew the Bucks play. I mean, the Bucks had to draft an elite tackle, or what we hope is going to be an elite tackle. So good on John Lynch, man. Good on him. Already off to a great start as GM for the 49ers. So let's move to the Bucks' actual draft. Bucks picking 7 times. No 4th round pick this year, but 2 picks in the 7th round. And of course,
we did have a 4th round pick. His name was Rob Gronkowski.
Oh, that's right. Great segue. You know what? I left Gronk off our topic, so let's jump into Gronk, our 4th round pick. And how do you feel about that? I mean, I think we all knew it was a possibility. We were kind of joking about it. It's like, oh man, wouldn't it be amazing if Gronk came? Big reunion here in Tampa, and then it happened, and then we're sitting here May 7th or whatever day it is, and OJ Howard's still with us, and Cameron Brate's still with us.
Yeah, it's definitely shocking. I really thought OJ Howard was going to move during the draft day. I thought it was going to be like something we acquired the fourth, either like a fourth round draft pick for, maybe a second or third. I think his play on the field last year really devalued him. So I don't think he was really gonna Bucks weren't really gonna get what they wanted from him, so they just might as well keep him. Which I mean, I don't blame them for doing it. I mean, having going back to how the Patriots had those two elite tight ends back in the day with Hernandez and Gronk. I mean, OJ Howard has the athletic skills to be a top tight end. So having one on each side is definitely gonna be a dangerous scheme there.
I mean, how much do you think Gronk has in the tank? Kind of seeing him 2 years ago in what was his last season. Even then, he kind of looked as a shell of his former self. I mean, you think this off year kind of helped him maybe recoup, or do you think we're
Yeah.
going to see any sort of similar production?
Um,
Is OJ
I'd say
still tight end number one? I mean, I think that's a question to ask.
I think you got to default put Gronk as tight end number one right now, based on the history of him and Tom Brady, and also based on what we know about him. But I mean, I'd say it can go either one or two ways. Either one, that year he got off to recoup. He's healthy. He's found his love for football again. He's in an environment, because I think part of the reason he retired from a lot of things is he was just sick and tired of the whole Patriot way, the whole Belichick way. Now he can be a little bit more loose, kind of be himself more, enjoy things more. So we might either A, we'll get back to the Gronk that we knew and loved in New England, or B, we're gonna have Gronk, but we're gonna use Gronk more as a decoy when it comes to like the red zone and stuff like that. Because if whenever we're in the red zone, everyone's probably going to double team Gronk. That's going to give opportunities for Chris Godwin to be open.
Someone's got to be open, and we have
Exactly. So
three elite pass catchers if you throw Gronk in there with Mike Evans and got Chris Godwin. So
yep.
I'm liking it. I like the move.
And even put OJ in there too on a two tight end set in the red zone. And also this new guy that we drafted fifth round, Tyler Johnson. I mean, everything I've been seeing about him has been extremely positive. I think he might have been a fifth round steal as well.
A lot of people are saying potential steal of the draft. To be amazing that he fell that far, and we'll get to him in a moment. Of course, pick number one, Tristan Wirfs. We've talked about him a little bit. I think my heart really wanted Becton. I think was my number one guy, but again, just really, I think I'm always for character guys, and Tristan Wirfs seems to be a character guy, and truly athletic. I mean, it's actually pretty amazing. Like you said, the jumping out of the pool video is amazing, and seeing some of his highlights at Iowa. I know when we were on FaceTime, I was kind of joking around, like, oh, great. When it rains, he's going to be really good because he can jump out of a pool. But, all joking aside, I've been more impressed as I've done more research on him and how he's played at Iowa. Second big need, and we talked about this in episode 16, was secondary help. And it seems like we got that with Antoine Winfield Jr., not to be confused with Sr., who actually played against Tom Brady as a Minnesota Viking.
And intercepted Tom Brady as well.
Picked him off, yeah. So how do you see him fitting into our secondary? I think we talked about safety being a potential need. Is he starting right out of the gate?
Yeah, I mean, we got Justin Evans coming back, who wasn't there last year, so he's got definitely some competition. But I mean, from everything I've seen in Minnesota, the videos, he's definitely got potential to play behind Justin Evans and maybe even take over. Who's the other guy? Andrews, I believe his name is, for our current strong safety. But I mean, it definitely addresses the need. We definitely have struggled in secondary. So I do like Antoine Winfield. I do like the experience, not the experience, but like the being around football he has. He does have his dad guy, who was a very good safety back in the day. So I definitely think that addressed the need, and I can definitely. I don't know if I'm going to say he's a game day one starter, but he's definitely going to get his way in there, though. He'll definitely make an impact on that secondary.
Perhaps one of the most controversial picks, maybe a pick that me and you maybe don't agree with. Again, the more I've looked into it, kind of okay with it and thinking he might be a good compliment to Rojo. I know you were not pleased with the pick of Keyshawn Vaughn, running back out of Vandy. SEC. That's all I'm going to say. We got an SEC running back,
And
best conference in the league.
yeah, you've seen how those pan out. You got your Trent Williams, your Eddie Lacy's. So not too excited about that. But also, there's the argument that you got your Josh Jacobs too, your Emmett Smiths, and Fred Taylor's also that came out SEC. So I'm not gonna really downplay it because of the conference, but it just wasn't a pick that I was too excited about. I just didn't. I don't see him being much different than Rojo, in a sense. I wanted somebody who was more down, going to run between the tackles. Him and Rojo seem more they're going to run more to the outside and kind of do more pass catching. But I guess in another sense, I
Keyshawn
mean,
it's a top pass catching receiver, however. So
yeah, that's what I
I
was about
think
to say. Given what we've seen with Brady with the James Whites and the um, all the other people he's had, Dion Lewis, I guess he fits what Tom Brady is used to playing with the whole dumping it out and checkdowns. So I mean, he is definitely a much better catcher than what Rojo was. So if that's what we're going for, and that's what Brady wanted, I guess it could support that. I was just really looking forward to a running back in the second round, whether it was going to be Jonathan Taylor or Dobbs or DeAndre Swift. I was looking forward to one of those, but those were already picked. We already got
yeah,
picked up.
everyone was picked. I know, and my memory's killing me here. There was one of the family of second round receivers or running backs that was available, and I think that was why a little bit of Bucks Nation was upset with the pick because I know Swift was gone, and I know a few of the other backs that we were targeting were gone. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but we ended up with Keyshawn Vaughn. We'll see what happens there. Of course, Bucks fourth round pick being Rob Gronkowski, and then we get into Tyler Johnson, who a lot of critics, a lot of analysts are saying a potential steal of the draft for the Bucks in the fifth round. Uh, filling probably hopefully filling in for the hole that Brashad Perriman's leaving.
Yeah, I mean, if you looked at his stats in college career, he definitely finished like top three in like receptions, like yards. Um, he's great against the challenging catches where he's pretty much the ball's up in the air and he's got to fight for the catch. He's very good at that. The only downfall I think maybe team skipped on him was his speed. He does not have really elite speed. He has average speed, and he also is very prone to drops as well, which may have been a turnoff for some teams, considering what playing in the NFL and playing against elite cornerbacks and elite secondaries. Speed is definitely going to be something that's very important. I know we had Keyshawn Johnson back in the day, who wasn't really like elite speed, but he was great at those catches.
Had the
Uh,
hands.
yeah, exactly. And he never, pretty much almost never dropped passes. But he was also like, what was his height? Like 6'5", 6'6".
It's a
So
big body, but
yeah,
had one of the best hands in the NFL at the time. So, yep, we'll see what happens with Tyler Johnson. It's his book to write. But right now, looking like a great value pick there for the Buccaneers. Of course, a couple picks, sixth and seventh round. Cleo Davis out of Nebraska, a couple sacks this last year. Chappelle Russell out of Temple, linebacker. And I think a really interesting pick was Raymond Calais out of Louisiana Lafayette. I think this could be an underrated running back pick, mostly because he has a career 7.8 yards a carry, which I think is really interesting. And I know
wow.
the Sun Belt is the Sun Belt, right? But they have a couple games against some tough teams because they're the Sun Belt. I mean, I wonder if I don't know too much about him. Haven't done too much research into him yet, but I really thought that that stat was really interesting. That he was over 7.8 yards a carry, so maybe that translates into the NFL somewhat.
Oh, we got two Minnesota players. I just
Yeah,
noticed that.
that's right.
Playing.
Winfield and Tyler Johnson, both Minnesota Golden Gophers. So that's it for the Bucks draft. What would you give? What would you give them grade wise before we move on?
Um, Grade wise, I'll probably give it like a B. They definitely address needs as secondary, and they address the offensive tackle. Maybe a B plus because based on what a lot of critics saying, Tyler Johnson may have been a steal. So I probably give it like a B plus, mainly because there's like no one there is like a really like a sexy name like a Jonathan Taylor or somebody you're like, oh man, I'm so glad I got that guy. Someone we remember watching in college all year, and we're super excited we got that guy. So no sexy names, nothing to really get excited about, but addressed needs and filled holes. So give it like a B plus.
I had him at a B, solid B, and again, we'll see how this draft class does. I guess Jason Light has been improving year by year in draft, so let's see how this year goes.
I mean, after drafting Guay in the second round, the only way to go is up.
Only way to go is up. So we'll see how this draft class for the Buccaneers performs in the 2020 season. Speaking of the 2020 season, tonight was NFL's schedule release night. Never been so excited for a schedule release in my life. Having some sports to look forward to. Hopefully, asterisk, I guess, provided coronavirus doesn't make the games be at like half capacity or something like that. Let's move on to the Buccaneers NFL 2020 schedule. One of the great features about Facebook Live is I can put a poll up. So we have a poll for some of our viewers out there. So
Another reason that Moose was overly excited for the schedule is because that pick segues into planning his bachelor party as well.
Hey, you know what? I was given instructions on Twitter that's not in my lane. So you know what? I'm just providing materials, and I'm gonna let the authorities that be make those decisions. So hopefully it works out for us. Let's hop over to the full screen. We've got it up over here. The 2020 schedule is out. Chris Godwin in those amazing new jerseys. And here it is, Emrod.
What's your thoughts on using Chris Godwin there instead of Brady or Gronk?
You know, Brady's been, other than a couple videos here and there, they haven't used them at all. Like today for the schedule release, I was watching, and they had like three of the players do like a let's guess, like these. They asked questions about the cities that we were playing, and they had like who'd they have? They of course had Devin White. They had OJ Howard, which I thought was interesting after all the rumors of him being upset, and then they had Bradley Pinion of all people. So
yeah, but you think see, I was thinking about that. I was like, man, they're only trying to really market players that we actually drafted. Not somebody that we brought in, especially since those other players, might stay with us for extended amount of periods,
right.
And fans can build connections with them, other than Brady, who might be here a year or two, or Gronk, who might be here like a year or two.
But you're right, because Chris Godwin probably due for a pretty, depending on how he does this year. I know last year a little bit of injury ridden, but still some decent great production. This is his big money year. Last year for his contract, the Bucks probably can't afford him. I mean, if we're looking at 2021, I don't know if they find a way to be able to keep Chris Godwin somehow. I mean, that probably means that Ndamukong Suh is gone next year. Plus probably one of the tight ends for sure to be able to sign Chris Godwin. So I think it's interesting, and it's honestly it's kept that uncertainty's kept me away from buying a Chris Godwin jersey.
And also, the only way to really afford it's kind of like the way the Rams and the Bears afford their talent is draft a rookie quarterback, so you have them locked in on a rookie contract for like 5 years, and you can pay the people around them. So that'd be the only way. So it had to be a way in order to maneuver to keep him for a year if Brady does come back for a second year, and then have somebody lined up right behind Brady who will have locked up in a rookie contract and we're able to pay the people around them. Because once you got to pay that quarterback, that's pretty much the 25-30% of your salary cap right
Yep,
there.
absolutely. Uh, so here's the schedule, Emrod. What are some of the dates that get you pretty excited?
Week one for sure. I mean, we Brady and Breeze. I mean, I can't even recall the last game that I remember seeing them play against each other. They don't really meet each other often. What, once every
Four
four?
years, yeah.
And I don't remember the last time they played each other. I do not recall that game at all. I don't know if you do or
Mm-mm.
not, or who even won that game. So definitely Brady versus Breeze. I mean, two 40-plus-year-old quarterbacks facing each other. And of course, one of my friends that I watch football with a lot, Tim, he's a hardcore Saints fan. So us usually we make bets and wagers on Bucks or Saints. Typically, it's for wing night, for who's paying for wing night. So that's usually two games a year we look forward to. So that one's definitely one that I'm very excited about. Um, then you got the Broncos playing at Mile High Stadium. Reason I'm pretty excited about that is because that's potentially a game that we might go to, which we do our yearly tradition away game last year. If everyone remembers, we went to the Seattle Seahawks game, Bucks Seahawks. So that's a potential game we might go to is Bucks at Broncos. Um, Chargers at home. Is the Chargers one at home? Yeah, the Reds at home.
Reds at
Uh,
home, so Chargers
yeah,
at home with those amazing new jerseys.
seeing those New Jerseys there, and also Justin Herbert, who I think is going to have a successful year and career because he's being brought into a very good situation. A team
It's
that
a
has
great
good.
situation. You have Eckler, you have wide receivers, you have a
Mm-hmm.
decent, probably I'd say above average defense. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I think
And a
he's
good
going to be
offensive
okay.
line too.
Yeah.
So he's being brought into a good situation. The Bears, uh, I mean, I don't know about that one, especially with their quarterback situation there. I'm not too excited about that one. Green Bay is always fun when Green Bay Packers are in the house. So that was a good one. The Raiders, that's another one that I'm excited
Yeah.
about there.
Going
That's
to
a
the going to the Death
potential game,
Star. Going to the
and
Death Star at Allegiant Stadium.
and that's a potential game. One of the potential ones that we might go to as well. So that one's pretty exciting, especially Buccaneers versus John Gruden for the first time, and then at home against the Chiefs. I mean, I'm not good. I have very low hopes for that game for us pulling that one off, but it'd be awesome to see Patrick Mahomes and all the talent that team has
Gotta beat the
in
best to
person.
be the best, though. So, I mean, that would be interesting. I don't want to know. I don't want to anoint the Bucks as Super Bowl favorites or contenders or anything, but I mean, the odds are the Chiefs are probably going to be in the Super Bowl again this year.
And then you got the Rams. I'm not that, maybe a year or two ago I would have been very excited about that Rams game. I know the Bucks. We beat them in a shootout last season, and we'll score 52 to something like that,
Yep.
something crazy. But I mean, the Rams have definitely been seem like they've been regressing, losing a lot of players, having salary cap issues.
And they're really pushing that new logo.
Yeah, and that's another reason I don't want to see that logo. And then look at the Falcons.
See,
Falcons.
I think that was what to look at because we've talked about this, off the air. Uh, I think the Falcons are a sneaky good team this year, and I don't think they're getting enough attention. They're not getting enough credit. Their first draft pick kind of meh, but I think they did okay in free agency and in the draft. And
No, we,
They still have Matt Ryan. I mean, he had a down year last year. Their running game wasn't where it needed to be. They had some injuries on the offensive line. I mean, I think the Falcons could potentially be a really sneaky good team. And
yeah.
we've got them basically back to back at the end of the season where, hopefully the Bucks are in a position where they need to win a game or two to make the playoffs.
Yeah, playing each other after wait, they play each other on December 30th. Take a we essentially got a bye week because we're playing against the Lions. And then you got
Don't say that.
I'm just kidding.
Don't jinx us already.
But yeah, I mean, playing the same team in within a 2 week period gives you a lot of time to keep some fresh tape on hand. So I can definitely see that being a situation where the Bucks and the Falcons there split that series there.
So we're gonna put our poll up as we hop into some of our last discussion here. Question that's going up, Emron, is what will the Buccaneers 2020 record be? So we're gonna publish that poll, and then let's go quickly game by game to see what if we're gonna take wins and losses. And and maybe have a prediction for final record for each of us here. So poll is up. Get those votes in for what will the Buccaneers 2020 record be? We have losing season or 8 wins, 9 wins, 10 wins, or 11 or more wins. So go ahead and vote in that poll if you're listening to us live. All right, Emrah, let's start week 1. America's game of the week, September 13th on Fox. In the Superdome, we've both been there. How do you think that goes week 1?
With week 1, this is going to be an exciting game, but I'm going to try to be honest and give it to the Saints because it's the first game the Bucs play together as a team. Might have a little. No, Brady might not be on the same page of Godwin yet, or Evans. Might have a little step off on their timing and defense. Mike Thomas definitely eats up the Bucs secondary. So I'm going to say he does that again. So I'm gonna get down to the Saints. I'm gonna say week 1's gonna be a good game, but that's one we're gonna lose there.
And then of course Teddy Bridgewater hopping into the Panthers. Those trips to Mile High are always interesting, especially when we go out west. How do you feel about the Broncos with Drew Lock? And I think they had a pretty strong draft as well.
Yeah, I think they won the last 4 out of 5 games. Got an additional weapon there. But I think we could take the Broncos there, especially in September because of the weather. If this game was played like in December, I'd probably give it to the Broncos. But playing that early in the year with some decent weather, I'll probably get down to the Bucs.
Moving on, if Chargers, I think would be an interesting game. We talked a little bit about the Bears and Packers. How do you feel about the Raiders game? One of our, especially it being away, Derek Carr's presumed starter. They had an okay draft as well.
And they had a very quiet, good free agency too.
Yeah, I think I was more impressed with their free agency, getting some people over to Las Vegas first year in the new stadium. That's an interesting game, I think, for the Bucs. Hopefully the defense is already in full swing by then.
The thing about the Raiders are just so hot and cold. Like one game you'll think that they're going to easily win, and they either barely win or they lose. And there's a game where you think, oh, you know what, I'm going to bet against the Raiders this time. They slaughter the team they're playing against. So the Raiders are just a very, very interesting team, and they're very unpredictable.
A couple people saying they don't see the poll. I've published it. I'll have to mess around with that tool. I don't know, maybe refresh your timelines, guys, to see if it's there. I can pause it, or I can show the results in the video. So I don't know if I can republish it, but maybe refresh the timeline, see if that works. If not, I'll for our next show we'll do some research on that. Giants, we'll hopefully a little bit of revenge against Danny Dimes. Another game against the Saints and Panthers. Hopefully should be able to take the Rams. Like you said, I think the big giant litmus test, huge game heading into the bye week against those Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just go ahead and say we lose that one. I'm not even
gonna put the L. Gonna put the L in that one.
Yeah.
Then, Minnesota is always a weird game for us too. We always find a way to play badly against them. Kirk Cousins coming back into it. Maybe asking us if we like that. I don't know. I feel the Bucs lose a stupid game like that one that they should win.
Are we against the Vikings at home? The Vikings are another unpredictable team, too. I mean, you bet on them heavily against the Bills that one year, and they lose by 3 touchdowns to the Bills when the Bills weren't good. So, they're one of them and the Raiders, the 2 unpredictable teams. You never know what you're going to get from them when they step on the field. The Falcons, I say they split that one, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm pretty confident in us beating the Lions. The Lions is, I don't know, I've never been a really big Matt Stafford fan myself, Um, and they watching them last year. They seemed very unorganized.
Right. Matt Stafford coming basically didn't play at all last season. Had a few personal things coming up, and I'm really interested in this seeing the Falcons twice in 3 weeks heading into the playoffs. Hopefully, given that COVID doesn't delay or kind of reconfigure the season. Reading some of the latest contingency plans. Essentially, any week can be treated as week one of the season, and then they would kind of dump those games missed on the back end of week 17. So, a couple contingencies in play for any sort of COVID delay, as communicated by a few of the big sources online on Twitter.
But you know what? After the schedule, I think we should be able to try to get. We should be good enough for that seventh seed at least.
Right, that's right. This is the first year of the 7 seed making the playoffs this year. So, liking our chances. I really am liking our chances to make the playoffs this year. I had the poll pop up on the video, so let me know if you still don't see it. I actually voted in the poll as to what I thought our results were going to be. Where do you have us, Emrod, in terms of total record before we wrap up our show?
I I'd probably go with like 11-5.
That is exactly where I have us. I have us at 11-5, and that's where we have the vote there. So if you don't see the poll, we'll figure that out for the next one. But I have us at 11-5. I think strong 11-5. I wonder if we can win that division with 11-5. I haven't looked closely at the Saints' schedule. Some of the chatter online had been that they have a little bit of a challenging schedule, but
Mhm.
we'll have to wait and see how everything shakes out. All right. We didn't use the split cam very much. I think I lost your video, Emrod, but I have your audio, which is good. So we'll just finish up with the audio. Hope you've enjoyed the show. It's been pretty good to have it on Facebook Live. I really liked it actually. So we might see if we do. I guess start our own page here on Facebook. Maybe shift everything back to Facebook, and we'll keep our YouTube and we'll upload stuff. But kind of like this experience on Facebook, so you might see more of us here. Make sure to like our page if we send you an invite in the next few days. So it should be the Sports Heap, which is our kind of our umbrella network of shows, and then we would have everything on there. Anything else for you, Emrod?
No, I am good for now. Unfortunately, we didn't get to do our mock draft episode. Things come up, but you know what? We'll try to make it here more often for your viewing pleasure. But you know what? Excited year. First time to be excited this much for to be a Buccaneers fan, given all the moves that has been made and all the excitement. So this is going to be a pretty interesting season. And what do we got? What do you think we got coming up next, Moose?
You know what? I wonder. I know I've been owing everybody an episode of the Thunderdome podcast, our Lightning podcast. Lots of rumblings of what the NHL plan is going to be. Latest rumors have been a 24-team Stanley Cup playoff. I think they're going to play a couple games to end the season to kind of give a little bit of a chance to some of those teams on the bubble to make the playoffs. And it really looks like it's going to be a 24-team playoff. So most of the league making the playoffs, and I think they're going to do play-in games. Then round one would be best out of 3, I think, and then it moves up into 7 moving forward. So I owe everyone an episode of the Thunderdome podcast, a little bit of lightning news to share. I think we got to get back on the Balls, Brews, and Bros, though. It's been a few
Yeah, it's
months.
been a while for that one.
So just
For
kind of
sure.
our, I guess, not safe for work type of letting it loose, having some brews, talking about both sports and non-sports topics, and just having a good time.
And that
But
is also a good show for special guests. If anybody wants to request to possibly ever be a special guest on one of our shows, that
that's
is the
right.
one to do
We've had a few requests. So if you have Skype, get at us. We can definitely get you into the show and join us for our Balls, Brews, and Bros. Just talk about basically anything. Uh, I know Errol had reached out about wanting to talk ponies. Kentucky Derby actually delayed for the first time. I think they moved it back to August or September, right? So he definitely has to be a special guest to give us some talk about betting on the ponies getting into September for the Kentucky Derby. So I think that's it for us for tonight. Thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate you guys. We promise some more content going up here on Facebook. Of course, feel free to find us over on YouTube as well, The Sports Heap. You'll find our channel. Make sure to subscribe for now, at least. And, of course, hit us up on Twitter. I'm pretty active on there. Got my Twitter handle right below me, at Moose_TSH. And we'll go to Emrod even though he's not there. You got Emrod at Emrod_TSH. It's been it for...
I am not as active on Twitter, but I do respond.
He does respond. So if you want to really at Emrod, go ahead and do that. He will respond. That's been it for the Buc'ing Hangover, episode number 17. Hope you've enjoyed this episode. We will see you in the next few weeks as more Buccaneers news trickles out. Hope you had a great time. We'll see you next week. Go Bucs.
Yep, have a good one. Until next time.
Touchdowns, Tampa Bay, fire those cannons.
We'll see you next week. Go Bucs.